Welcome to one of the first auto readers in the world. Just enjoy.
Chapter 2, Echoes in the Dark. The finality of Akari's words hung in the air, heavier than the damp chill permeating the cottage. Outside, the rain persisted, a relentless shroud over Hida, but inside, a different storm was gathering. Kenjiro's mind, usually a placid pool reflecting possibilities, churned with sudden, sharp currents. Lord Fujiwara murdered for a small, lacquered box, and Akari, the gentle lady known for her calligraphy and quiet grace, hunted like a common criminal. He moved swiftly, his training overriding the shock. "Akari-sama, stay away from the door and window," he commanded, his voice low but firm, cutting through her panicked sobs. He guided her trembling form further into the small room, towards the relative darkness near the hearth where only embers glowed faintly. The single lamp cast long, dancing shadows, turning familiar objects into unsettling shapes. He retrieved a dry cloth from a chest, handing it to her. "Dry yourself as best you can. We cannot stay here." His eyes swept the room, assessing its meager defenses. Paper walls offered concealment, not protection. The back entrance led only to a small, muddy patch of garden bordered by a low bamboo fence, no escape route if they were surrounded. Akari clutched the cloth, her knuckles white around the lacquered box she still held tight against her chest. "Sato, Lord Ishikawa's captain of the guard, he led them," she whispered, her voice regaining a sliver of composure, fueled now by a cold dread rather than sheer panic. "He has eyes like a snake, Kenjiro-san. Cold. He touched my father's favorite scroll, smirking. They were searching for this." She tapped the box. "They called it the Fujiwara ledger." A ledger? Not jewels, not secret treaties, but records. What accounts could warrant regicide and the pursuit of a lord's daughter? Kenjiro recalled Ishikawa's swift consolidation of power, the almost unseemly efficiency. Taxes, trade routes, appointments. Perhaps the box detailed dealings Lord Fujiwara found dishonorable. Dealings Ishikawa needed buried deeper than his cousin's body. Kenjiro knelt beside the hearth, ostensibly tending the embers but actually listening, extending his senses beyond the thin walls. The rain was a constant roar, masking subtle sounds, yet his trained ears strained, filtering the drumming water, searching for anything unnatural. The squelch of a boot in mud, the clink of armor, a hushed command carried on the wind. "My father," Akari continued, her voice thick with unshed tears, "he became withdrawn in his final weeks. Pensive. He spent hours in his study, poring over documents. He dismissed his usual physician, claiming a preference for an old herbalist from the mountains, but that herbalist never arrived. Then the illness came so swift." Her gaze met Kenjiro's, filled with dawning horror and certainty. "It was poison, wasn't it? Served in his tea." Kenjiro didn't answer, but the grim set of his jaw was confirmation enough. The whispers in the market were not mere gossip, they were the stifled cries of truth. Lord Fujiwara, the poet lord, had uncovered a rot within his own domain, likely orchestrated by his ambitious cousin, and had paid the ultimate price. And he had prepared, leaving this fragile legacy, this damning evidence, with the daughter he trusted, guarded by a memory of kindness, the weight of a heron's feather. A sudden noise cut through the rain's drone, a sharp, distinct snap of a twig breaking nearby. Too sharp, too close. Kenjiro's head snapped up, his eyes locking onto the main shoji screen. He instantly pinched out the lamp's flame, plunging the cottage into near-absolute darkness, save for the dull red glow of the embers. "Hide," he breathed, pushing Akari towards a recessed alcove typically used for storing bedding. "Behind the futons, be utterly silent, Akari-sama, no matter what you hear." She scrambled into the space without a sound, pulling the thick bedding around her, disappearing into the shadows. Kenjiro melted back against the wall near the entrance, drawing not his katana, but the shorter, swifter wakizashi from its saya. Its polished blade caught the faint ember light, a sliver of cold fire in the gloom. He controlled his breathing, becoming part of the shadows, listening. Footsteps, heavy, sloshing through the mud outside, more than one pair. They circled the cottage slowly, deliberately, a low murmur of voices, distorted by the rain and the walls. "Just a Ronin's hut, no lights." The voice was rough, dismissive. Sato-sama said check everywhere, came a sharper reply. The girl favors places others overlook, like her father. There was a grudging respect, mingled with irritation in the tone. Sato's voice? No, one of his men. A hand slapped against the thin wood of the door, making it rattle. Kenjiro tensed, the muscles in his sword arm coiled like springs. He could feel Akari's terrified presence behind the bedding, could almost hear the frantic beating of her heart. Another voice closer to the back. Fence is low here, easy jump, nothing disturbed. Silence stretched, broken only by the incessant drumming of rain. Kenjiro remained perfectly still, a statue carved from shadow, his senses screaming. He tracked their movements by sound alone, a shuffling near the window, a muttered curse as someone slipped in the mud. They were thorough, but perhaps contemptuous of this lonely dwelling. Then the rough voice again, impatient. Enough, she wouldn't come here, he's nobody. Let's move towards the river path. The footsteps receded, the squelching sounds fading back into the monotonous roar of the downpour. Kenjiro waited, counting slow breaths, long after the sounds had vanished completely. He strained his ears until only the rain remained. Finally, cautiously, he slid the wakizashi back into its saya. He moved to the alcove. Akari-sama, they are gone for now. She emerged, pale and trembling, but her eyes held a spark of defiance. She still clutched the lacquered box. They mentioned the river path, she whispered urgently. Kenjiro nodded grimly. They are casting a wide net. This cottage is compromised. We must leave Hida, Akari-sama, tonight. Leave, the word sounded foreign, frightening. Where can we go? Somewhere Ishikawa's reach is shorter. South, perhaps, or maybe find allies if any loyal to your father remain and dare to oppose Ishikawa. He looked at the box she held. But first, we need to understand what we carry. Does it open easily? Akari examined the box, her fingers tracing the mother-of-pearl cranes. There is no visible lock. My father never showed me how. She paused, then her eyes widened slightly. She pressed gently on the eye of the lead crane depicted on the lid. A faint click echoed in the quiet room. The lid sprang open a fraction. Inside, nestled on dark velvet lining, lay not loose papers, but a tightly bound book, its cover plain, unmarked leather. It looked deceptively ordinary. The Fujiwara ledger, Kenjiro murmured, the name itself feeling dangerous. He didn't reach for it yet. Evidence was a weapon, but one that could cut both ways if wielded foolishly. We cannot stay, he repeated, his voice regaining its calm authority. He retrieved his katana, Yumi no Tamashi, checking the secureness of its Seijyo cord. He strapped the daisho to his obi, the familiar weight settling on his hip, a comforting counterpoint to the fear that lingered in the air. He found a spare, sturdy cloak and offered it to Akari. This will offer little warmth, but some protection from the rain. Keep the box secure. Akari nodded, tucking the lacquered box deep within the folds of her ruined kimono, then pulling the rough cloak around her shoulders, hiding her fine, though damaged, attire. She looked small and vulnerable, yet resolute. Kenjiro slid the back door open a crack, peering into the relentless gray deluge. The muddy garden patch, the low fence, the indistinct shapes of trees beyond, it was an uninviting path into an unknown future. Stay close, Akari-sama, he instructed softly, stepping out into the cold embrace of the rain. And tread lightly. The night has many ears, and Lord Ishikawa's men are not the only dangers in this storm. The Ronin and the hunted lady slipped away from the small cottage, swallowed by the weeping darkness and the vast, uncaring rain. Behind them, the faint glow of embers in the hearth slowly died, leaving only cold ashes and the lingering echo of whispers. The weight of the heron's feather had become the weight of a province's fate, resting now on the shoulders of the thinking blade.